first topic of biochemistry is macromolecules. These are large molecules present in our body. They are made up of 6 elements of the periodic table: carbon, hydrogen, oxygen, nitrogen, phosphorus, and sulfur. Our body has 4 different types of macromolecules: carbohydrates, lipids, proteins, and nucleic acids. All these macromolecules are polymers, meaning that they are made up of small repeating subunits called monomers that are connected together through covalent bonds to form long chains called polymers. Last time we discussed carbohydrates. In this video, we'll be discussing lipids. The repeating subunit in lipids are fatty acids. Fatty acids are long chains of carbon atoms in which carbon at one end contains this functional group called carboxylic acid. The remaining carbon atoms in the chain are attached to hydrogen atoms. If we add one more carbon atom to this chain, it would be a whole different molecule of fatty acid. This covalent bond between carbon and hydrogen contains a large amount of energy. So when this bond is broken, a large amount of energy is released to be used by our body. These types of fatty acids are called saturated fatty acids because they contain maximum number of hydrogen atoms that can be accommodated in this chain. It's because each carbon atom in the chain is connected to the neighboring carbon atom through a single covalent bond. So when there is at least one double bond present in the chain, they are called unsaturated fatty acids. An example is vegetable oil. And some examples of saturated fatty acids are butter and ghee. Note that the carbon chains in saturated fatty acids are straight and they can be tightly packed together. Hence, the saturated fatty acids are solid at room temperature. While the double bonds in unsaturated fatty acids form these kinks. That's why they cannot be tightly packed together and they are liquid at room temperature. In a lab, scientists can artificially remove this double bond over here and add hydrogen atoms to the molecule, forming trans fats. An example of trans fatty acid is margarine. Note that trans fats are extremely unhealthy for us as they are solid at room temperature. Fatty acids are mostly present in our blood, and these processed fatty acids, which are solid at room temperature, can be deposited in our blood vessels, hence blocking them and leading to heart failure. Lipids in our body are present mainly in the form of triglycerides. Triglyceride consists of a molecule of glycerol. Glycerol is a 3-carbon molecule, each of which contains an OH group. In a triglyceride molecule, each hydrogen atom from the OH group is replaced with a fatty acid molecule. These fatty acids may be saturated or unsaturated. Triglycerides are a major component of our blood that stores a large amount of energy that can be made available to the body on demand. Second most common type of lipids in our body are phospholipids. Their structure is similar to those of triglycerides with a glycerol molecule attached to saturated and unsaturated fatty acids, except that one of the fatty acids is replaced with a phosphate group. As you can see that here a negative charge is present due to which this part of the molecule is polar in nature, while these fatty acid chains are non-polar. So this molecule is also drawn like this. And phospholipids form a lipid bilayer in the cell membrane, which is present in both prokaryotic as well as eukaryotic cells. And it is oriented in a way that the polar molecule is outside, while the non-polar chains are sandwiched between the polar parts of the molecule. The reason is that both extracellular matrix as well as inside of the cell or the cytoplasm are water-based. So the polar part of the molecule interacts with water on both sides, while the non-polar part is sandwiched inside. Then we have steroids. Steroids differ from other lipids, but they are classified with them because of their hydrophobic nature. Steroids consist of 4 rings of carbon atoms fused together like this. Whenever you see 4 rings fused together, it means it is a steroid. With slight modifications, they form other molecules like cholesterol. This is a molecule of cholesterol. Cholesterol is embedded in the cell membrane of animal cells where they stabilize their structure and maintains the fluidity of the cell membrane. And cholesterol is also precursor for different vitamins like vitamin E and K. And with slight modifications, the cholesterol also forms different hormones like testosterone. Hormones are chemical messengers formed by our body to regulate different physiological functions like homeostasis and reproduction. Then we have waxes. Waxes are basically long chains of carbon atoms with an OH group in the end. As you can see that waxes are mainly made up of carbon and hydrogen atoms, so they are highly non-polar or hydrophobic in nature. For the sake of simplicity, the long chains of carbon atoms are also drawn like this. Waxes are produced by both plants and animals. For example, in plants, they are present on the surfaces of leaves and stem to prevent water loss. An example of animals' wax is beeswax, which is produced by honeybees in the honeycomb, and we use it in cosmetics, food, and pharmaceuticals. Another example of plant wax is soy wax, which is extracted from soybean plants, and we use them in candles as well as cosmetics to make waterproof makeup. So this is everything you need to know about lipids.